Everybody, just looking to talk to everybody a little bit here. So if you jump on live, I am here and I have the comments window open on YouTube Live. If you do jump on live, adjust the camera here a little bit. Um, so what we want to talk about tonight is the current DOJ lawsuits, what's going on with National Association of Realtors. I am Jesse Storm. I do have my license hanging with BrokersRealty.com. Phone number is 888-774-8488, extension 103. So what we want to talk about real quick is just what's going on with the DOJ. And, everybody knows the DOJ started their lawsuit against the Realtors Association, NAR, National Association of Realtors. What some people don't realize is NAR backed out of that lawsuit, or the agreement. That lawsuit then was not allowed to be reopened by federal court. They're now pushing to try and reopen it to some extent. It sounds like the new folks under the Biden administration are going to allow that to be reopened. But here's the more important thing. All of this is for consumers. And what I'd like to tie this back to is just like deregulation of utilities. Deregulation of utilities was supposed to save you, the consumer, money. It was supposed to protect you, the consumer, more. And that was great. We all bought that idea. We all jumped on board with deregulation. However, it didn't work out that way. So for many of you, the open market cost you thousands of dollars in that first winter. And then the second winter and the third winter, and people were signing short-term contracts. And it still happens today where you sign a contract for electric for, like right now, I guess PP&L is like 7 cents a kilowatt hour, and you can get 5.3 kilowatt hours. But nobody pays attention to what their prime rate is. So every time I look at it, it makes me cringe, because even though PP&L is saying their rate is 7.1 cents per kilowatt hour, all of these other companies are offering 5.25, 6.25 as teaser rates for 6 months or for a year. But then it says in the fine print that their prime rate is discounted by 9 points, 9 cents, for you to have that full 5 cent number. So their goal is for you, the consumer, to forget to sign a new contract, either with them or some other company, for a new teaser rate the following year or 6 months or whatever it may be. So they're getting 5 cents now, but when you forget to sign, if their prime is 9 points higher, 9 cents higher, now you're paying 14 cents. So you're paying double what you would have paid PP&L directly just to pay the 7 cents. Also, PP&L back in the day at deregulation in Pennsylvania, I mean, I don't know about other states, but back in the day, with deregulation, electric was approximately, I think it was somewhere around the 2.25 cents per kilowatt hour prior to deregulation. Deregulation made PP&L sell off their electric generation facilities. So now Exelon owns the generation facility in Southern Lancaster County. Exelon owns some of the different generation plants. I mean, you get different generation plants all over the state and country. So now PP&L is not allowed to produce their own electricity to sell to you, the public. They have to buy it from someone else. It was cheaper for them to produce it and sell it to you because there was no third party or fourth party trying to make money. Because now you've got Exelon making the electricity, selling it to PP&L selling it to you. So let's just presume Exelon is putting their power out on the open market at 9.5 cents a kilowatt hour, and PP&L goes in and says, we're going to buy this much electricity from you. They negotiate that down to 6.25, and they sell it to you for 7.25, so they're making a little profit. That's one thing. Well, then you got the other side of that equation where Starlight Electricity is buying that they don't have the negotiating power that PP&L still has, so they're negotiating that number instead of being 6.25 to, let's say, 8.25, or PP&L is offering it at 7.25. Let's say they're getting it at 7.25 because they don't have the buying power that PP&L does. Exelon is going to sell it to them for 7.25. They're not negotiating. So that company that is taking it on the chin to give you that teaser rate of 5 cents, they're losing 2 cents a kilowatt hour on you. And then when the teaser rate ends and you forget to do it, now that's where all their profit comes into play. If they can catch you for 2 or 3 months, they're making up wholesale what they lost on you for that first round. That same thing is what I'm seeing is going to happen to real estate. So on the open market with a realtor, there is no standard. Everything's negotiable, but it was common for brokers to offer packages of photos and whatnot for 6%. We shouldn't say common, we shouldn't say standard. It's a negotiated number. Some people have just said, hey, this is what we do it for. That was their number. Same token as if you walked into Walmart and you wanted to buy this shirt and they said it was $14.50, you didn't get to walk up to the register and say, I like this shirt, but I don't like it $14.50. Let's go 11. You take 11? No, not 11. 11. 14.50 is the number. How about 12? How about 12? 14.50 is the number. How about 13? 14.50 is the number. Well, I want this shirt, so I guess I'm going to pay 14.50. That's kind of how real estate worked for a long time. The brokerages would figure out what's our cost, what do we need to profit, and how does that break down if we do X amount of deals in this price range, X amount of deals in this price range, X amount of deals in this price range, all tallied together. We need to know that our electric's covered, our gas is covered, our water's covered, our sewer's covered, our agents are getting paid, our mortgage is getting paid, we're making a little bit of profit. We got, it's a business. It's a business. And then the agent's got to look at it from the standpoint, okay, I have a 50-50 split with my broker. So let's say it's a $100,000 house and we're getting 6% commission. Well, we're not really getting 6% because we've been offering 50% of that commission to buyer's agents for years. So we're only getting 3%. So on a $100,000 house, 3% commission was what was going to that agent. 50-50 split. Broker's making $1,500, the agent's making $1,500. Now that agent has to pay for the photos, the advertising, the marketing, their business cards, all of their future advertising to get new clients. It's a business too. So you got one business underneath of another business with an overall business where they're all getting money. So this year I paid $500 and some for NAR dues for local associations, and it's still not done because you're paying MLS dues, which is another $200-300 a quarter for multiple associations. So you could be paying $500, $600, $700, $800 a quarter just to have access to put your homes in the MLS. So it's really not as lucrative as people think, and there's not a lot of free money that's going around, and then those agents who get more successful at the 50-50 split might move up to a 60-40 split. They might move up to a 70-30 split. And usually on the brokerages that are providing you the best services for your money, 70-80% is usually the highest they pay the agent because they've got their overhead to pay. But then you got these chop shop brokers. Well, I shouldn't say chop shop, but you got brokers that don't have brick and mortar offices. Their agents are all working remote. Everything's digital. They're working from home, basically. So they're giving them the lion's share of the money. They might be getting 99% of that money. And then they have all kinds of junk fees that they charge back to the agent, so that way they can get the agent. So the average commission is a 70% split. It doesn't matter how you cut it up. It doesn't matter what company it is. Ultimately, most places, 70 to 80% is the most the agent gets after they pay all of their junk fees back to the brokerages, desk fees, phone fees, internet fees, website fees, paperwork fees, electronic services fees, advertising and marketing fees for the corporation, not for the agent. Just all of these different junk fees that they charge. They're not really junk because that's how the brokerage has got to get their money to pay for the bills. So ultimately, it works out between 70 and 80% of what the average agent makes, whether they're making a 100% split or whether they're making, a 70 or 80% split. The fees are all built in there. They're going to adjust those fees. Some franchises charge on a sliding scale of 3% of whatever's collected. So that $3,000, 3% goes to that corporation. So I don't want to use company names, but you get the blues and the reds and the red, whites, and blues. So, they charge a franchise fee that gets passed down to the agent. That franchise fee is a sliding basis. So an agent who produces more may be down at 3%. An agent who's new might be at 6%. So out of that $1,500, 6% or 3% comes right off the top and goes to that big corporation name, brand name, as a franchise fee. And then the money's below that gets split 50-50. So you see, even if it's 100% split, and then you have the brokers who are franchises who they cap at a certain level. They pay the company so much money and they're done. They don't pay any more franchise fees. They don't pay any more brokerage fees. They get 100%. They still have advertising and marketing fees. They still have E&O insurance fees. They still have all these other junk fees. They're making the same money, whether it's at a 70 or 80 split or whether it's 100% split and you're paying all the fees. You're going to average out to between 70 and 80% commission split as an agent. So as you can see, there's not a lot of money that's going back and forth. It takes a lot of transactions to make good money in real estate. With that said, deregulation of real estate is what DOJ is looking for, in my opinion. Now, I have never, since I've been in real estate, agreed with NAR requiring an offer of compensation to a buyer's agent because I felt that that was an issue right from the door. My brokers that I've worked for in the past, and I've had conversations about it, I thought that was stupid. Well, guess what? Now most of the MLSs have moved to a zero compensation for a buyer's agent. So they don't have to offer a compensation for the buyer's agent in the MLS. But majority of them all still require all listings to be put in the MLS. So if you're a realtor and you take a listing, the MLS requires you to put that listing into the MLS. Again, that's what DOJ calls antitrust. I have never agreed with that either, because at the end of the day, if you have a business and you want to sell your business and you have a good agent like myself, who works in the commercial business, has a lot of commercial contacts for commercial businesses, and you want to sell your business, but you want to do it on the down low and you don't want everybody to know about it, we called that a pocket listing back in the day. And we used to get in trouble for having pocket listings because it violated our agreement with NAR, it violated our agreement with the MLS. And that's why most commercial brokerages never joined the MLS. That's why a majority of your commercial brokers weren't realtors, because see, here's where it gets you. These MLSs require for you to be a member of the MLS. So there's one MLS right now that I know of in our area that doesn't, but that's new. It's a new MLS, but most of the MLSs were agent owned or brokerage owned back in the day. And that's kind of weaning away. But what they required was for you as an agent to be a member of the association, your broker had to be a member of the association. And if your broker was a member of the association, they had to be a member of NAR, PAR, in that local association. That was a requirement by NAR and PAR that was a requirement. Then it was passed down to the MLSs that they pushed out, that for you to be a member of the MLS, you had to be a member of NAR. For to be a member of NAR, you had to be a member of PAR. That's the Association of Realtors, for those who don't know. So there, in my opinion, there are a lot of antitrust issues there. I've never agreed with them for a long time. However, breaking this all up is going to do one thing. The same thing that happened with deregulation of oil, with deregulation of gas, with deregulation of electricity, with deregulation of large companies. Because you got to remember, back in the day, you had the Rockefellers who owned a lot of different businesses. DOJ came in, broke them up. Well, everything got more expensive. Everybody's now looking to make big profit. Instead of making a little profit off of everything, they're all now having to make that profit margin to stay alive off of one company, one product. So it's made our country more expensive. The same thing is going to happen to real estate, because you're not going to be offering a buyer agent commission, which means now the buyers are going to have to come up to the table with more money, and they're going to be negotiating their services for that particular service. We already offer different a la carte packages, and we have for a long time as a company. So when we've gone in, we offer a set of services for X amount, another set of services for X amount, another set of services for X amount. You can pick and choose, you can cut, you can do whatever you want, because it was a negotiation in our mind. I've been with the same brokerage now for quite a few years, and I thoroughly agree with the direction that our brokerage has gone over the years. I agree with the way we treat our clients as fairly as possible in negotiations of that. We've never come out, and I have never come out and said, this is our number, this is a flat fee, this is what we charge, this is company standard. It's not, it's a negotiations. And if you as a realtor take your licensing exam, you'll know that that's what the law is. It's negotiated. So I've always told people, this is what you learn to get your real estate license. Once you get your real estate license, forget all of that, because this is how real estate's actually practiced. Why is it practiced this way? Because of NAR, because of PAR, because of the local associations. So back to what I was saying with putting the houses in the MLS, the broker had to be a member of NAR, which then means that for the broker to be a member of NAR, all of the agents underneath of that broker had to be a member of NAR, which meant you had to be a member of PAR, which meant you had to be a member of that an association. My opinion for years was that's just a money racket, and that's really what comes into play. I've argued this point many times, because it's a benefit to the consumer, it's a benefit to you as a seller, it's a benefit to you as a buyer to a certain degree. Where we're going to see the problems is agents are going to come in and they're going to take it on the chin working for a buyer. They're going to have to make that profit up someplace to pay their bills and have their profit margin. So that's going to move the numbers up even higher on the seller side. So what is it going to do? It's going to make everything more costly. So what you're going to see is an agent's going to come in and say, okay, here's my list of services. This is what I can do for you. You can pick these things a la carte for what you want, and here's what we're going to charge you to do those. And a lot of times that number is going to be way more than if you did a package. So then they're going to have the other sheet that's going to say, well, these are our packages of the a la cartes. So we package these items here with in a package, and based on that package, this is what we're going to offer in this package. This is what we're going to offer in this package. So if you take all of these services, it's 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, 6%. And then you're going to pick which package you want or what a la carte services you want. And ultimately, they're going to always add up to more money than what you would have paid on this current plans, the current way things have been done. Um, then you're going to, that agent's going to go out and do those services for you. And if they come back and say, hey, you wanted $350,000 for the house, it hasn't sold in 3 months, price reduction. Well, for a price reduction, we do X, Y, and D because now we've got to go out and change all the advertising and marketing and change all these different, websites. I mean, because your house could be listed on 180 different websites. Because once you break up the MLSs, there's not going to be a direct feed for the agents anymore to send that stuff out in one simple way to do it. They're going to have to go to all these different websites and modify, change. It's going to take hours to do. So they're going to start charging more for it. The brokerages are going to start charging more for it on the seller side. What people are calling standard 6% commission for a long time has really been a percentage that hasn't been increased for the most part for years and years. And that's why people are saying, oh, that's the standard number. Well, that was kind of what was figured out at the beginning is what it cost to do the job. And that's what a lot of brokers have just said, look, we're not going to rate people. This is what we need to make this happen. This is the number. I even had a broker one time that I worked for that when I went back and said, hey, look, I took this listing. I think it's going to be an easy sale. I don't think it's been on the market very long. And that broker looked at me and said, well, our company policy. You took it for 5%. You're going to co-op 2.5. You're going to keep 2.5. As long as we get our 30% of what would have been 3%, we're fine. Oh, okay, so let's look at that. So if you got $100,000 house, it's just an easy number for easy math, times 6%, that's $3,000. Half of that, giving half to the buyer's agent, half to the seller's agent, would be $1,500. $1,500 times the brokers, let's say they're on a 70-30 split with the brokerage. So 30% is the broker's money. The broker's going to want $450 of that check out of that $1,500. So what that broker was really telling me was you took that deal for 5% on $100,000 house, that's $5,000. You're you're giving away 50% of that, which is 2.5%, which means you're left with 2.5%. So that leaves you with 2,500 instead of 3,000. And what the broker is saying is you're going to still give me 450. So you subtract your 450, that leaves you with $2,050. So you, as the agent, physically lost it $450 because it came out of your pocket. So that's $450 less to pay all of your dues, your training, your continuing ed, all of that stuff. Pay for your desk fees, pay for your phone fees, pay for your electronics fees, pay for your advertising and marketing for that property, pay for the professional photos. I mean, because let's get real. I mean, let's look at those numbers because $1,500, you're losing. I'm sorry, I said 2,500 earlier. My math very skewed there. I mean, I guess basically $6,000 on a 6% commission on $100,000 would be $3,000. So $3,000 times your 30%. Brokerage was expecting $900, so you only got $2,500. And you gave your broker 900 of that. That leaves you with $1,600. And instead of $3,100, so you realistically lost $500 more by giving that person that discount instead of $450, $500. So now you're down to $1,600 instead of 30, what, you know, it's just insane, insane. I mean, there's just not a lot of money to it, and it's getting carved up. And brokers still want their dollar because they still have the mortgage, they still have the building, they still have the lights, the electric, and all that stuff to do. Most agents are working from home now. They got their own computer, their own stuff at home, scanners and printers and all of that stuff at home. Doing this stuff, so they're really not using the services of the office, which is why a lot of agents then go to brokerages that don't have brick and mortar, but then they don't have somebody really supervising them. They don't have somebody to go and ask a question to. They can't get a hold of their broker. It puts you at a detriment. It puts you at a lower position. Um, and I see all of this coming back to affect you, the consumer, in the long run, in a much worse environment, because when these numbers start getting cut up, the brokerages already know what their number is. The agents already know what their number is. And if they're going to take it on the chin with a buyer, so let's say you got a buyer and they can only, they're buying a $320,000 home. They're doing USDA financing, which is 100% loan to value. Plus you can add an extra 3% on the top to cover some of your closing costs. And if you can get 3% from the buyer to cover the rest of your closing costs, you can walk into that house with no money out of your pocket realistically. Where's the money for the realtor coming in? They've got to have that money in their hand. So they're buying a $300,000 home and their agent is charging them 3% commission. The agent is charging them $9,000. They're doing a 100% loan. They don't have $9,000 to put into the pot. So if that person says, well, you know what? I mean, I'm doing USDA, I'm financeable for this, but I only got $1,500 to pay you. That agent's going to take it on the chin to make the deal happen most of the time. And they're going to take that $1,500 is all they can afford to pay. It's all they have. And the reality is the agent's going to know what they have, because in the process of pre-approval, in the process of the transaction, the agent learns your financials throughout that whole process, because they need to learn the financials because they're selling your offer to the seller. They need to make you look as strong as possible, to make your offer look as good as possible. So they're learning your financials through this process. They're working with your lender to make things happen. There's numbers that come back and forth, because lenders will tell them, look, based on taxes, blah, 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 they only have $1,500 to put in this mix. So you got to get 3% seller help from the buyer to cover that if you want to make this happen for your client. The information's flowing. They're going to know if you lied to them and said, "Oh, well, I only got $1,500 to pay you," and suddenly you've got 20 grand in the bank. They're gonna know that, because when you're doing the sheet that says what you have 5 other houses and that you've got a bank account with $100,000 in it, the proof of funds, it's all coming out. It's all part of it. So lying to the agent is just going to really make the agent feel bad. And once you lie to them, how much can they trust of anything else that you said for them to negotiate harder for you? You got to be open and honest with them, so that way they can do the best job for you throughout that process and make you look as good as possible. So I believe that agents are going to take it on the chin on the buyer side to make deals happen. They're going to try and make that up on the seller side of those transactions for the services and marketing and advertising and all that. Do I believe that an agent that takes a client out on $1 million buy, so let's say you're buying $1 million house, $1 million. There's only so many of those houses out there in the market you're in. If you're in Pennsylvania, I mean, different areas are going to have different amounts, but if you go to Northumberland County, that's for an example, you got less than 3% of the homes. And out of that, you might have 1 or 2 for sale at any given time. So you're not going to be trucking somebody around to 30 homes. It's just not going to happen. Not there. Now, $100,000, you're going to see more. $15,000 home, you're going to see a lot more. So it depends on what somebody's looking for and what's available on the market in that area. But $1 million house times 3% commission is a lot of money. You're talking 30 grand to the buyer's agent. Now, if he took you out and showed you one house or two houses and negotiated an offer or took you through that process, is it worth 30 grand to the buyer's agent? Probably not. Because they're going to spend maybe 80 to 90 hours in that transaction to get it from start to finish for you if your offer gets accepted. What's a fair number for that? Well, let's look at that. So let's go $200 an hour, which is what most professionals charge. I mean, if you get a good professional, they're upwards of $450 an hour. It's like saying, do you want to go to a gynecologist for a heart surgery? No. So you're going to go to a heart surgeon. Heart surgeons got training to do that. When you're hiring a buyer's agent, you're going to hire them for their abilities and their experience, and they're going to charge more. So, but let's just say $200 an hour times, let's say they got 90 hours into the transaction. That puts you at $18,000. Not 30,000, but you're going to get that buyer's agent that says, well, I want 30,000. I mean, it's negotiating. Would I take $18,000 to sell a buyer a $1 million house? Yeah. But here's the other thing that none of you have thought about. How many times does a realtor get in their car, spend 2, 3, 4, 5 days showing somebody houses, and that person says, I'm just not seeing what I want. I think I'm going to wait another year. That's all unbillable hours. So the rule of average is that you're going to balance out with your commissions, but we're going to have to make it up someplace, because if we're now negotiating numbers and we're now on that deregulation side of things, the agents and the brokerages are going to want to make that money up. So that's where, if you're charging the 3% commission for a buyer's agent, $30,000 on $1 million house, if you take out 5 or 6 people and show houses to, and they don't see something that they want or buy something with you, you got to make the money up. What we're going to start seeing is billable hours. I already do that. I use a program that I log in and log out with on my phone when I'm working for clients, because here is what I've been trying to figure out is how much time do I tie up daily for each file? What are there files that take less time than others? Yeah. I mean, somebody's working a short sale file. Oh my God. I tell you, you could probably wrap up 400, 500, 600 hours into a $20,000 short sale. Just so that person that's hiring the realtor to show them short sales and show them foreclosures and are negotiating with banks and negotiating to get those deals done, are tying up a lot more hours on that than what they would be tying up on for $1 million sale. So you're going to see agents focusing on higher dollar sales because they're making more money off of that. You're going to see less agents doing the lower end stuff like that, but you're also going to see agents saying, hey, look, I charge $200 an hour. I'll clock in and clock out. You just settle up with me every week. And if that brokerage is taking a 70-30 split, the brokerage is getting $30 on that out of that $200, well, $60 out of that $200 per hour. So the agent's making 140. It's the agent's car insurance. It's the agent's gas. It's the agent's car wear and tear. It's the agent's time. It's the agent's insurance, E&O insurance. It's the agent's business insurance. It's the agent's costs. It's the agent's office. It's the agent's computer. It's the agent's printer. It's the agent's paper. It's the agent's bank. It's the agent's phone. It's all agent. So that's why the agents should make more of the lion's share of the money. However, those big brokerages that have those big buildings and have the fancy services inside and give you the free water and soda, you're not gonna, they're gonna charge more to their agents than these brokerages that don't have the brick and mortar, don't offer anything special. So I see if we move to an hourly platform, that it is going to make homes unaffordable for many people. Why do I say that? Well, homes are already unaffordable for a lot of people. First of all, they can't get financing, so they're in rentals. They bad credit, can't get financing, income. They want to buy a nice home. That nice home 5 years ago, 15 years ago, you could buy a nice home for 80 grand. It's semi-detached, 3 bedroom in Lancaster outside of the city. Now those homes are selling for $140. So the guy making $12 an hour can't afford that. Just simple. 2.5% of your yearly income or your monthly income is what you should be factoring on. You don't want to buy a house more than 2.5 times your annual income. So if you make $12 an hour, and I know many of you make way more than that, we're looking at common folk. How this is going to affect the large volume of people. So $12 an hour times 40 hours a week, that puts you at 480 times 52 weeks of the year. That puts you at your yearly income of $25,000 level. But we just say 25,000 times 2.5%. That's going to put you in at 62.5 for a purchase price. Well, you're not buying in Lancaster City for 62.5. You're not getting a decent house for that. So you've already put a lot of people out of the market. So let's look at where does it become obtainable? Two-family household, both people making $12 an hour. Now you're at 120, 125,000. So now that two-parent family, two-person family, can borrow 120,000. Now you can get into an entry-level home someplace. But look at the divorce rate in the U.S. It's through the roof. One person's not going to afford it, wants to buy it. You're going to be house poor. You're going to be broke. So it makes it unaffordable. So you got to be at that. One person's got to be at that $20 to $25 an hour income threshold just to buy a basic home. Problem though is there's not a lot of basic homes out in the market. There's no basic homes being built anymore. You're hard pressed to find a new construction home under $200,000, and we are quickly approaching $300,000 for a basic home, which means that you really need to be bringing in as a household $75 an hour approximately to afford that brand new home at $300,000. Our younger generation thinks they should start where mom and dad left off. So they moved out of mom and dad's $600,000 home, $700,000 home, and they want to buy that same home because that's what they feel they need to have, because that's what mom and dad had. Mom and dad didn't buy that house more than likely as their first home. Mom and dad probably bought a $30,000 home, lived in it for 5 or 10 years, and then sold that when the value was, it went from 30,000 to 65,000. They parlayed 45,000 onto a new home because after they paid off their mortgage and everything else, they parlayed $45,000 onto a new home. They were making slightly more money. They have more money to put down, so now you can go out and buy. So let's say you're buying let's say you're buying $120,000 home, and you put $45,000 down on it. You're at 75,000. If your income came up a little bit, very obtainable. And then you live in that for 5 to 10 years. They lived in that for 5 or 10 years. They sold that house. They bought it for 120. It's now worth 180, 185,000. In that 5 or 10 years, they're walking away with $120,000 in proceeds from that home. They're putting that down on buying a $250,000 home now. Their income came up a little bit. Now they're in that $250,000 home. Many times at that point, the children are back in, we're talking, I'm talking right now, 15, 20 years ago, and how your parents did this. So now that house was worth $250 that they bought, and kids grew up in the house. Now the house is suddenly worth because the market made huge jumps there. The market's now, that house is now worth $500,000 because cost of living deregulation happened. When deregulation happened, everything went up. Plywood, 2x4s, all of that stuff went up. Market values on houses skyrocketed. Um, so now they're virtually unobtainable in today's society for a lot of people. Then you got to think about, we hit the point in time where the federal government said everybody deserves a loan. Everybody deserves a loan. So banks were following the government's orders, handing out loans wholesale, and they quickly realized that 2007, the market, 2008, the market crashed because people were being foreclosed on left and right because they couldn't afford the house. They were too upside down. They lived without going on vacation for quite some time. We went into a big recession, and it was driven a lot by real estate. Because you had Enron collapse, lost a lot of jobs. You had a lot of Ponzi schemes that came to light at that point in time, lost a lot of jobs. Now you got a lot of people out in the market. Now companies are letting people go. Home Depot, they fired their full-time staff, hired many of them back as part-time staff for a $4 or $5 pay cut. Go Home Depot. Lowe's did the same thing. A lot of places did the same thing. That drove that number down, down, and down. It kept going down and down and down, which is what took you through 08, 09, 10, 11. The depression, the market depression kept being driven by mortgage foreclosures. The same thing is going to happen when we deregulate real estate. You, the consumer, are going to take it on the butt. Do I say that things should be changed in the real estate industry? Most definitely. I don't agree with many things, but my opinion doesn't matter to PAR. My opinion doesn't matter to NAR. My opinion doesn't matter to those brokers that I used to work for. My current broker and I have a very similar mindset, thought philosophy on, first, the real estate market, second, on how agents should be treated, third, on the income splits that agents need to have to continue to grow their business and grow their brokerage's business, the services the broker should offer to agents. Because one of the things you guys don't know, I'm going to tell you, even though you called your brother to sell your house, you didn't know they worked for XYZ brokerage. The broker of record owns that transaction. So if your brother leaves and walks away, he doesn't have to give that transaction. You can be assigned a new agent because your agent brother doesn't own your deal. The broker does. The broker in Pennsylvania is considered the procuring calls for all transactions. All transactions. They don't have to release the stuff. And my current broker and I have the same mindset that these agents produce this business. It's their business, which I'm happy to have found my current broker. Because like I say, our mindsets are pretty similar. We've had many conversations over the years that we don't agree with the way things are doing. But for us to practice within the real estate industry, we have to bend over bare and take it to be able to serve our clients. I got into real estate as a realtor to help people, not to make crazy money. I got in to help people, and that's the struggle of helping people. You don't necessarily care whether you make $1,000 off of this deal or you make $5,000 off of that deal. I did do a business plan. If I'm going to invest money into a business, I want to know what my returns should be. I want to know what my expectations and my goals are. So I do a business plan every year. I'm going to invest this much money into the real estate this year. I want to see this much profit to come back out of it, because that lets me continue to grow the business and pay me for my time. But I don't like to gouge. I like taking a little piece off of everything, so that way you're not having to gouge anybody on one specific thing. But you're going to see with deregulation, brokerages that own title companies, that's going to get separated. So now you're going to pay title company's profit, you're going to pay the brokerage's profit. Brokerages that have in-house mortgage companies going to get separated. Those who have programs with companies, lenders, it's going to get split up. So the brokerage isn't going to make a little piece of profit off of all those deals. So the mortgage company is going to make their money, their profit, and then they're going to have to pay the broker to advertise and market there. So the money they were going to give to the broker, they're going to have to pay in the money that the broker was making. They're going to wind up paying back to the broker in advertising and marketing with their company. But it's going to be two standalone companies. So now you're going to have the mortgage company that needs to make profit. You're going to have the title company that needs to make profit. You have the real estate company that needs to make profit. You have a realtor that needs to make profit. Once you separate and divide all of those out, there is no way for you to, because I mean, honestly, right now in real estate, there is very little profit in selling houses as a real estate brokerage. Majority of their money comes from the ancillary services, title, mortgage, concierge services. So the company that calls you to set up your electric for you, set up your water, and get you into a home warranty, or get you into a alarm system. The brokerage makes a couple of pennies, a couple of shekels off of each thing there. It's not a lot off of each one, but at the end of the year, those little pieces wind up being generally 50% of the budget for most brokerages. So if you deregulate that and take 50% of that out, the brokerage to run is going to have to get more money, which means they're going to pay the agents less of the split. So now that agent that was having a 70-30 split, maybe back to a 50-50 split. So that way the broker's making enough money to cover the overhead. Well, that means the agent's going to look at that and say, well, by golly, I needed that $3,000 to continue to do what I'm doing for my clients, to market and advertise and make a little profit myself and scratch out a decent living. So, well, now my packages went from 1%, 2%, and 3%. If I can do this for you for 1%, I can do this for you for 2%. I can do this for you for 3%. And, I can do a la carte for these prices, and you can do these different services for these prices. You want on the MLS, it's going to be this price. You want this. So ultimately, that agent's going to say, huh, okay. So now those of us like myself that would have taken a 1% basic listing on the seller's side, and you co-opt the percentage to the buyer's agent, now they're going to have to say, well, I can't do it for 1% anymore. I need at least 2% to make that happen. 2% package, I need at least 3% to make that happen, or 3.5% to make that happen. 4% package, or your 3% package, I need 4.5 to make that happen. It's going to cost the consumer more money, is what I'm trying to get to. I would love for consumers to get involved. See, and the other part of these lawsuits are that individual home sellers, they want to put their house in the multi-list. Well, too bad, so sad. You haven't been paying a fee to the multi-list to have it run for the past 15, 20, 30 years. Why should you come in and pay $150 to list your house in the multi-list when I've been paying them $280 every quarter for the past 25 years? Doesn't make sense. They're not going to do it. They're going to be able to, like the one of the MLSs I'm in right now, they've already changed. You don't have to offer any commission to a buyer's agent in the MLS. You don't have to co-op anything out. So what happens when the agent comes out and shows your house? Oops, I'm working for free. Unless they did their buyer's agent agreement with you, and now the buyer's gonna be like, whoa, I got paid by the seller. No, get paid by you. So now you got to cough up money. It's not part of the deal. It's not part of the package because right now those commissions are part of a package and you can finance that package. You're not going to be able to finance commissions. You're going to pay it out of pocket. There are brokerages out there that currently do a la carte stuff. You got brokerages that charge $199 to put your house in the MLS. People think that's expensive. Well, it's $218 to a quarter to have your house in. If your house sits there for 3 months, $218. If your house sits there for 6 months, 420, 440, I mean, the numbers just keep going up. So all that there is going to be is an increase. I think the people, the public, the ones out creating the lawsuits, I think you're right. I think there's issues. I think we need to work together. But suing is not the answer. Because what happens when you sue? You get awarded money. That money's coming from someplace. Where's that money coming from? The insurance company for the brokerage, the insurance company for PAR, the insurance company from NAR. We've seen our dues jump almost double in the past 10 years. Why? Lawsuits. I see our dues doubling again in the next 3 to 5 years. We're going to go from $500 a year for PAR and NAR and local association dues to $1,000 a year, which really isn't a lot of money from that standpoint. But when you combine that with $218 per quarter for one MLS and $245 a quarter for another MLS and $600 because see, what you guys don't understand is one MLS doesn't cover the entire country. All the local municipalities, counties, subdivisions. There are multiple MLSs. So for you to practice, I'm a licensed in the state of Pennsylvania, practice across the entire state. However, there's multiple MLSs across the state of Pennsylvania. So if I'm going to practice across the state of Pennsylvania, I got to pay to be in all of those multi-lists. I calculated that one time. It's been a couple of years, and it was pre-big MLS company right now because a bunch of them merged together to make this one MLS company. But before that company came out, I had looked at it to be in every association across the state of Pennsylvania was going to cost me approximately $5,000 a quarter to be a member of all of the associations across Pennsylvania. So I could actually practice what my licenses are for. That doesn't make sense. So I'm going to pay 20 grand a year of MLS access across the state that I'm licensed in. Doesn't make any sense at all. So there is going to be a lot of change. And I think even if all of the lawsuits stop today because of what already has transpired, there's going to be a lot of changes and it's going to affect the public. Remember when you could buy a gallon of milk for under $1. Remember when Pennsylvania had and the government had milk with a subsidy that prevented the price of milk, it was regulated and the price of milk from going up. As soon as that was deregulated, we went up to $3 a gallon in a hurry. Same thing's going to happen in real estate. So we're going to take a lot more people out of the market. They're not going to be able to afford a house. There are going to be a lot more renters. Moral of the story. If you want to get into real estate as an investor, now is the time. You may not make a lot of money today off of your rents, but in the coming 3 to 5 years, if I shake the magic 8 ball, we're going to take another 30 to 40% of the people out of the market to be homeowners, which means they're going to become more renters. And as the 20-something generation grows up and gets houses, as the 18s and the teens grow up to be adults and get houses, they're not going to be able to afford them. So there's going to be a lot more people in the market for rentals, which is going to drive the rental rates up. And as the rental rates drive up, it's going to drive the price of homes up even more. So a lot of you folks think, oh, well, it's just real estate. No, this is a place to live. This is a roof over your head. it's going to change. It's going to change drastically, and everybody's going to have to be prepared for that. That's enough getting in depth with you here. Look forward to talking with you. If you guys have any questions or you want to talk more, feel free to reach out. I'm Jesse with BrokersRealty.com, and our phone number is 888-774-8488. I look forward to helping you in any way I can. If you're an investor looking for rentals, feel free to reach out to me. We also do property management, and we try and keep that as cheap as possible too. You help people buy homes, sell homes, commercial purchases and sales, commercial leasing, residential purchases and sales, residential leasing. We also do the property management side of things. So there's a lot that we can do for you in real estate. Look forward to helping you. Thanks and have a blessed day.